Let's speak to TRT World's Britt Clennett, who's reported extensively on Hong Kong. So, Britt, as you look at these pictures, just bring us up to date with the police operation and what's going on there now.
Well, look, there's no other way to put it. These images are shocking to see. The Legislative Council has broken into chaos as those protesters entered the building after half a day of trying to storm the building, shattering the windows and using everything at their disposal to do so. Now, they entered the LegCo building. They were smashing portraits of some of the presidents who have presided over the Legislative Council. They smashed everything in sight. They sprayed over the Bauhinia, which is the Hong Kong flag, and destroyed pretty much everything in sight, and graffitied over the walls there. Now, obviously, this has now tested the police force in Hong Kong, because what we've now seen is that the police have fired tear gas. Now, up until this point, they have largely been kept at bay, and analysts have said that this is a strategy on behalf of Beijing, on behalf of the government, to make sure that there's not this perception of police aggression and police brutality, which is exactly what we saw on June the 12th. I was there when you saw those very brutal scenes, tear gas. Amnesty International, as a result, released a statement condemning those actions by police, and that is not what the government wants to see a repeat of. So we saw them keep at bay. There was a lot of criticism from within the police force. Some of my sources within the Hong Kong police force said, why isn't the government acting? Why isn't the police commissioner doing more to stop this riot behaviour? So now we're seeing that the police have now moved in with tear gas, and they sent a warning even on Twitter, saying that they would conduct a sweeping operation of LegCo, and that's what we've seen now. So it was predicted that it would get ugly, and that is exactly what we're seeing now.
And Britt, the Hong Kong government, of course, under a lot of pressure from China to bring these protests to an end. What is it saying about these events?
Look, the Hong Kong government has, by and large, remained very silent on the issue. Carrie Lam, for her part, came out twice to apologise. Members of her cabinet came out to condemn the actions of the protesters, but by and large, they've remained very quiet on the issue, on purpose, probably hoping that it might kind of calm down. We did see some days of calm, but it's become very clear that they couldn't deny the events that were unfolding, these dramatic scenes that the world is now watching. And for Carrie Lam's part, she also has had to reel in the events of July 1st. Let's not forget, this is the day where Hong Kong, in theory, is supposed to celebrate the handover from British to Chinese rule. There are usually supposed to be fireworks. It's supposed to be quite a celebratory affair. Now, since 2004, however, there have been protests every year on July the 1st. So that we've become accustomed to these large-scale protests. Obviously, nothing like this, and you can't help but think that this is a huge loss of face for the Hong Kong government, let alone Beijing. Let's not forget, this is a slap in the face to Beijing and a huge embarrassment.
Yeah, and as far as this extradition bill goes, is that still on the table? Because Carrie Lam is saying, look, we've withdrawn it and the legislation will lapse later on this year.
Well, look, it's an interesting question, and it is a grey area, and that's part of the problem. People are saying, why don't you just scrap it entirely? Again, it's a face-saving, endeavour. Some are saying, on the other hand, other members of Carrie Lam's cabinet have come out and said the bill is as good as dead. Let it go, everyone. There's no point pursuing these protests. It is only going to end in tears. Yes, it in theory could also be floated in the Legislative Council again, but judging by these scenes and what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, it is very unlikely that we're going to see that extradition bill, that controversial extradition bill, spoken about again.
Britt, thank you. Britt Clennett there, live from Istanbul.